her son Krishna. Amba Maladata Bimba Mukha, which is bedecked with this bimba fruit lips. Amba Vinchumba Maladata Bimba Mukha Lumba like a Jayadeva. And that hair is hanging down, untied or anything, beautiful curly hair. So this is just one verse from this Govinda Viradavali, between the Viradavalis, which I'll explain later. But now, we'll have our little Jaya Radha Madhava. Before you do, let me just... Okay. Welcome. Hare Krishna. Hare. Nice to see you. Okay, you ready? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mr. Paramahamsa Bhadrikacharya Justice to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Paradikacharya Ashtotar Tata Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. Before reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad-Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad-Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, has been is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 10th day of April 2019 in Columbus, Ohio, at a home program, we're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Kanna 1, Chapter 8, the prayers of Queen Kunti, beginning verse 18. Now, before we proceed, I was asked to speak on the prayers of Queen Kunti. Obviously, I can't read all of the purports, but I thought we could go through almost all the translations, and I'll read one or two purports and speak on those. So we'll get an overall view. It'll take a little bit longer, but I think it's worth it. And we're going to do like the first Sanskrit. Some of you may know or may not, but we'll try. Kunti Vacha Namasye Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakate Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antar Bahiravastitam. Srimati Kunti Devi said, O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all. Now just a few words of just the context. These prayers are being uttered. She's actually not alone. She's with others who are seeing Krishna off, or they think they are, after the battle of Kurukshetra has been won. All of the anxiety and the turmoil that went on before the battle with the exile of the Pandavas and all this is over now. And Krishna is finally getting ready to go back to Dwarka. And Queen Kunti, who has been through so much, and so is such a faithful devotee, is very, very advanced devotee, she's offering these prayers before his departure. And so Srila Prabhupada loved them. He actually made a recording of just the Sanskrit, which is not so well known, which is very beautiful. This is 1.8.18. 1.8.18, yeah. So we're going to read a few, and then we're going to, when we come to one or two that I picked out, we'll read the translations and all the part of the purports. Okay, I'm just going to read the English. Next one. Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. You yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service into the hearts of advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators, who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? So then she has two verses that, this is some of the first verses I ever memorized. In fact, Srila Prabhupada came to New York about 2 weeks after I joined. I joined in almost exactly 46 years ago, at the end of March in 1973. And Srila Prabhupada came like, the 10th of April. And, I just said, well, this is just the way it happens, Prabhupada comes. But it was very rare. And he was speaking on this verse, which is very easy to recite even if you haven't memorized it. Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya cha, Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other coward men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. Okay, next one is similar. Namak Pangajanabhaya, Namak Pangajamaline, Namak Pangajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangraye. Pretty easy verse, because it's all Pankaja, Pankaja, Pankaja. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. And I just can't resist explaining a little bit about this verse. Now, normally, you start with the lotus feet, right? But she started with the navel. And in the end, she said the lotus feet. So Prabhupada explains, it's very sweet, how Queen Kunti is, by social arrangement, she's his superior, right? She's his aunt. So normally an aunt won't offer obeisances to the lotus feet of the nephew, and vice versa. So she felt she didn't want to, violate that etiquette. So she starts with the navel, and then the garland, and then the eyes. And then at the end, she offers obeisances to the feet. And at the end, Prabhupada says of this purport, so one should begin to see the Lord from his lotus feet, gradually rising to his thighs, waist, chest, and face. One should not try to look at the face of the Lord without being accustomed to seeing the lotus feet of the Lord. Srimati Kunti, because of her being the aunt of the Lord, did not begin to see the Lord from the lotus feet because the Lord might feel ashamed. And thus Kunti Devi, just to save a painful situation for the Lord, began to see him just above his lotus feet, at the navel, from the waist. Gradually rising to the face, and then going down to the lotus feet. In the round, everything was there in order. And so that was so charming, sweet. So let's go on. Now I'm just going to read some English here. So she goes on, O Rishikesh, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. My dear Krishna, your lordship has protected us from poison cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from the sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashvatthama. Now this has just happened briefly. Ashvatthama was the son of Dronacharya. The battle is over already. Dronacharya has been killed. And Ashvatthama, first of all, he killed the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, which was like horrifically against the etiquette of fighting. Prabhupada describes that this battle of Kurukshetra, during the day, they would all fight very, very energetically. And then as soon as the conch shells were blown, then all this fighting would stop. And then they would sometimes meet in each other's tents and congratulate each other on, you did some wonderful fighting today, So because they all belonged to the same larger clan of the Kurus like that. But as the battle wore on, this etiquette was broken down. And at the end here, we find Ashvatthama, who's doing the most horrific thing of killing children, and all to try to end the line of Pandu. So he killed those 5 sleeping sons, and then of course Arjun went after him and captured him, was ready to kill him. But Draupadi said, no, I don't want, his mother to grieve like I am. In other words, she stopped him from that, so he ended up cutting off his top knot and humiliating him. And after all of that, even though he was saved, he still throws this Brahmastra weapon, which is like a personalized atom bomb, to try to kill Parikshit in the womb of Uttara, who's the very last of the descendants of Pandits. Just very embittered. And Krishna personally protects Parikshit. And that's why he's called Parikshit. He saw Krishna in the womb, and when he's still in the womb. And then ever after that, he was trying to find, where is he? He's always looking. Parikshit means always looking. So this is all, she's recounting this now. And you saved this from Ashwatthama. So now she says this amazing verse. Vibadak santa takshashvat, Vibadak santa takshashvat, tatta tatta jagad guru, bhavato darshanam yaksyad, apunar bhavadarshanam. You'll learn these soon. These are really important. I can see he wants to chant it. So now she says, I can't pray like this. Can anyone else pray like this? I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again, for seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. I'm just going to read maybe the first line of this first paragraph. Generally, the distressed, the needy, the intelligent, and the inquisitive who have performed some pious activities worship or begin to worship the Lord. That's from the Bhagavad-Gita. Others who are thriving on misdeeds only, regardless of status, cannot approach the Supreme due to being misled by the illusory energy. Therefore, for a pious person, if there is some calamity, there is no other alternative than to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though there are so many calamities, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to remember the Lord, which means liberation. So I'm going to Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance to him and all members of Sri Parampara. So by this prayer, and other ones, but this one especially, you can see Queen Kunti reveals her tremendous level of advancement. We have to always remember that the most advanced devotees of Krishna are women. Gopis. The gopis are the most advanced. And here we see Queen Kunti, and there's so many others in the pages of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. But Queen Kunti has this special place because of everything that she underwent with her exalted sons. And in all the cases that she's revealing here, she and her brother and her sons, her exalted sons, the Pandavas, were calling out to Krishna and relying on him for protection. And he always protected them in the end. Sometimes it seemed like, how are we going to be saved here? Or sometimes he would have his representative. She recounted in a previous verse the forest, save us from the big fire, the house of lack, not shellac, but lack. Which was a trick that Dhritarashtra signed on to, in which they would invite them to stay in this nice place. What was the name of the city? Varanavata or something like that. Yeah. And, and so, okay, maybe there's some reconciliation going on here. But Vidura warned them by a certain puzzle, a little riddle, to beware of weapons that are not sharp and so forth. No, they understood, fire weapon. So they escaped from that. And what then? They had no army. They were on the run. They had to hide to make sure they didn't know that they were alive, because then they'd come and get them. And so they're out in the forest, right? And remember, Bhima's running. He's so powerful. He doesn't get tired, the son of Vayu. But they're exhausted. So one is on the arm, and he's carrying, I forget where Kunti was, all of the other four, or five, because Kunti's there. And somehow they make it into the forest, and they're just so exhausted, and they're taking rest. And Bhima's looking at his mother, who should be sleeping in a royal bed. She's a queen, and she's sleeping on the cold ground, So he was, And then there was this Rakshasa who came, Hidimba, And he sent his sister, Hidimbi, to reconnoiter. He said, I smell blood of human beings. This is great. A feast is coming, because they're cannibals. And so Hidimbi goes, but then she gets attracted to Bhima. Right? Bhima's still awake, he's watching it. So she warns him. He warns him. So, really? There's a Rakshasa when he wants to cause trouble. So don't go near him, he'll kill you, you know. She doesn't know the power. And then there's this fight, and he plays around, and then he finally kills the Sadimba. So these things are going on all the time, these dangers. They had no army or kingdom, you know. And so she's recounting all this. And after all that, she's saying, let it happen again and again. And Prabhupada explains why. Because for devotees, the danger simply means an instance where they can more easily and more intensely remember Krishna and call out to him. Even in Vrindavan, you know, there's so many demons were sent in Krishna Leela. And I recall so many times the forest fire, you know, after the whole Kali-Yuga pastime, right? They thought Krishna was a goner, and somehow he got free, and, you know, he's always churning up the emotion, making it intensive. And so it was so late, you know, and they were emotionally exhausted, so they just camped out on the shore there of the Yamuna, and this big fire comes up. There's two fires, actually. This fire comes up. Oh, Krishna, save us, save us, save us. You know. He swallows the fire, you know, all these. So this is the nature. Now it's important for us to remember that, because in this world, for all of us, there are dangers, so many dangers. They can be physical dangers, emotional dangers, all financial dangers. This is the world, dukkha mashashvatam. So to learn how to call out to Krishna with this desperate, helpless feeling, this is an important part of Krishna consciousness. To always be confident that Krishna will protect is one of the aspects of surrender. So this amazing verse here, which I know it by heart, but I can't really pray like that yet, you know, because I'm not. But now the next one, I wanted to read the whole purport here, because not only that, but this verse, the translation was misedited, and is an important adjustment that I will reveal to you tonight about this verse, and it's all about chanting the holy name. And so it's right up our alley. Janmaishraya Shuta Shribir Edaman Namadakpuman Naiva Hatya Bidhatum Vai Tvamakinchana Gocharam. Okay, so watch this translation. This is the new, very small but essential adjustments. My Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted, because one who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot address you with sincere feeling. Do you see the differences? Okay, and if you study, have access, everyone has access, if you try to the old Bhagavatams, the original Bhagavatam, Prabhupada brought with him on the, and you look up this verse, you'll see why we made those changes. Okay, now this purport is all about chanting with feeling. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth and education and attractive personal beauty. These are the classic four opulences. Aishwarya, Shuta, which is education, Shribir is beauty, and Janma is a good birth. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly. O Govinda, O Krishna! It is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins that he is unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There is not the least exaggeration in this statement. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency. But there is a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality. Therefore, the four principles of material advancement, namely 1, high parentage, 2, good wealth, 3, high education, and 4, attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. The material covering of the pure spirit soul is an external feature, as much as fever is an external feature of the unhealthy body. The general process is to decrease the degree of the fever, not to aggravate it by maltreatment. Sometimes it is seen that spiritually advanced persons become materially impoverished. This is no discouragement. On the other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign as much as the falling of temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to be more and more illusioned about the aim of life. Grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God. So, just a few words on this verse and purport. The process of Krishna consciousness that we practice is that which is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Gaudiya Vaishnava Bhakti. And the tone is set by the teachings of Rupa Goswami and his Bhakti-Rasamrta-Sindhu, in which, following exactly the teachings that he received from Lord Chaitanya, he explains, here is what pure bhakti is. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma janavratam anukulena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. First he says what it isn't. Anya abhilashita shunyam is devoid of other or contaminating aspirations. Everything is depending on the heart. This is all a science of emotion, really, of purifying our desires. That's what bhakti is all about. So, but pure bhakti means unadulterated, unalloyed, uncovered by any material motivation, such as jnana karma anavritam. Jnana means desire for liberation. Karma means ordinary sense gratification. And adi means whatever else you come up with. In other words, just pure devotion. And then he defines that in the next line. Anukulena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. To always be acting with the desire to please Krishna, intentionally to do that. Not just by accident, but by intentionally. That's the standard. Now the hard part is the always, because we have so many things that we need to do for ourselves. And the trick is how to even do those activities with the mood of devotion. For instance, we all have to eat, we all have to sleep, we all have to do the things to keep the body and soul together, fine. But if your life mission is to advance in Krishna consciousness, give others a chance to be Krishna conscious, then you can feel that, yes, I'm keeping my health together, I'm supporting this body, because it is a paraphernalia for Krishna, through which Krishna and previous acharyas will help other people become Krishna conscious. So then it's not Maya. It's not just that, oh, I'm enjoying this, I'm enjoying that. Rather that I'm doing this in the mood of devotion. We saw this with Srila Prabhupada. Every breath, I mean, he proved it just by coming to America. His situation, he was in Vrindavan, lived there in one of the most holy spots in the universe, is Radha Damodar Temple, a stone's throw from Seva Kunja, the site of the Rasa dance. And what was he doing there? Well, he was doing his bhajan, certainly, but he was also writing. Not writing so much as typing on an old typewriter, like a 1940s typewriter with two fingers. Writing massive books. He's writing the first canto, second canto of Bhagavatam, and many other books. And the magazine, Back to Godhead, he did for years and so forth. He was instructed to do that, to preach in English. And also he was recognized as a competent writer. So he took that as a life and soul. That means always chanting for others to benefit from the science of Krishna consciousness. And when he came to America, as soon as he had a chance, he started Back to Godhead again. He said, this is the backbone of the movement. Much of it was produced by the writings of his disciples, because they could speak to their contemporaries in a language that Prabhupada knew he couldn't. So he started that, and of course his books, his precious books. So the whole idea is that whatever Prabhupada did, even the things that just are normally just bodily affairs, is all part of the devotion. So it doesn't mean that you have to choose one or the other, your devotion or your things to live in this world. It's a fact that they can all be dovetailed. It's a question of consciousness. So here she's saying, Edamana means ever increasingly intoxicated. If we get too much involved with these opulences and we become attracted to them, then even though we know the philosophy, even though we know that we're servants of Krishna, it's hard to engage in that service with the full sense of surrender and dependence on Krishna. This is one of the great values of Kali-Yuga. This is why this Kali-Yuga, I always like to point this out. On the one hand, in Prayana, we don't live very long, we're always disturbed, we're not very eager to perform, spiritual activities, and even if you are, you're probably misguided, and just the natures, we're always disturbed. How are we going to practice yoga? How are we going to be dhira? How are we going to be shanta? There's all those disqualifications. It's summed up in the 12th canto. In Alachua, they're studying the 12th canto now. Kalir Doshan, after Bhumi, Mother Bhumi has this called Bhumi-Gita. And she's recounting how, all these kings, they're trying to possess me, land, and fighting with each other and all of these disqualifications. So then she says, to sum it all up, Kalir Doshan Nade Rajan, that this Kali-Yuga is an ocean of faults. But there's one very good quality. Kalir Doshan Nidarajan, Asti Eko Mahadguna, Kirtanara Krishna Sa Mukta Sangha Paramajit. That although this Kali-Yuga is an ocean of faults, difficulties, there's one very special quality here. Just by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can become free of all of your entanglement. Mukta Sangha means free of entanglement and all of this craziness. And Paramajit, go back to God. And therefore in the previous canto, when the 9 Yogendras are recounting the different avatars, and they come to Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Varnam, Trisha Krishnam, Sango Pangasta Parshadam, Yagya Sangatana Praya Jantihi Sumedasa. That in this age, Krishna comes in a form that's not blackish as he did in the previous age, but is golden. He's always chanting the name Krishna or describing Krishna, Krishna Varnam, Krishna Krishna. And he comes with his intimate associates like Advaita Acharya, Nityananda, Gadadhar, Srivas, and his whole coterie of other associates, Parshada, and his weapons. What are Lord Chaitanya's weapons, Shrestha? Who can say? The holy name. Holy name. He doesn't kill bodies, he kills the demonic tendency in the heart. In this age of Kali, it's said that the demons and the devotees take birth in the same body. We all have the demonic tendencies and we have our devotional tendencies. So Lord Chaitanya, with his teaching the chanting, he's able to kill the demoniac tendencies and to leave the devotional tendencies. And also it said Jiva Goswami and his beauty is also a weapon. It disarms people. Disarming. So those who are intelligent, Sumedasa, will worship this incarnation by the sacrifice of Sankirtan, of congregational chanting. No hard and fast rules. Everybody's welcome. A few verses later, this verse is spoken describing the glories of Kali-Yuga. This Kali-Yuga. Kaling sabhajiyam dhyaya guna gyasara bhaginaha yatra sankirtane naiva sarva swarto bilabhyate. That those who really know the essence of things, guna gya, sarabhagina means the essence, and who are Aryans, they worship this Kali-Yuga, they glorify this Kali-Yuga, because in this age, just by Sankirtan, yatra sankirtane naiva, sarva swarto abilabhyate. This word svarta is important for us to understand. Arta means something of value. Every one of us, we have a certain set of things that we value, that we want to strive for. And we think, if we get these things, then my life will be better or will be a success like that, right? But Prahlad Maharaj makes it very clear that for those who don't know that the real svarta, the real goal of the soul is Vishnu, then you establish false goals. Durashaya, ye bahir artamanina. External goals having to do with the body and the mind and so forth, which ultimately are not the goal of the soul, and which ultimately you cannot achieve, durashaya. And you're encouraged in this illusion by other blind people, and so for you've been completely convinced that you're this body and the goals of the body, the comfort of the body and so forth is your goal. But it's not. The real goal of the soul is to reestablish our relationship with Krishna, and to ultimately break out of the bonds of birth, old age, disease, and death, and go back to Godhead, to become reinstated in our eternal life of service. That's the teaching. It's very mysterious, because you can't figure it out by your own intellect, no matter how smart you are. You have to have an access from the Krishna directly, and especially from his representatives of this knowledge. So Kunti is saying here, in completely realized form, Janmashaya Shuta Shibya. Now she's been reinstated as a queen. She's been highly honored now in the kingdom of Yudhishthira. But she's praying, oh, let those dangers happen again. We were better off in the forest because we were calling out to you. She's appealing to Krishna in various ways. So this verse is very important. This line, to cultivate the quality of the chanting. It's a question of your understanding as well. It doesn't so much mean the externals, but we should be very careful not to get too involved in trying to increase these things. Whatever, we don't spend thousands and thousands of dollars, on Botox. This is crazy, right? I mean, that's the cosmetics industry, multi billions. Oh, I use this cream, now I have those wrinkles, look. That's increasingly intoxicated with the Shri beer. Very important, the beauty, the external beauty. The real thing is the internal beauty. It's how you're actually reflecting Krishna by your consciousness and by your progressive loving devotion. And that means akinchana gochanam. He is the property of the propertyless. Doesn't mean you have to be poverty-stricken. It means that you understand that everything you have actually ultimately belongs to Krishna. And that your real wealth is your prema dhan, is the quality of your love for Krishna that you're developing, your attraction to Krishna. That's real value. Because you can take it with you. Everything else you leave here. So, going on. We'll read a few of these quickly. Yeah, any questions, comments?
That change that you said.
Yeah, did you notice?
Approach instead of that.
Well, right, approach. Go back to read the Delhi Bhagavatam. It's available. You'll see Prabhupada said address there. But the thing is, the reason why the first editor didn't notice that is because I'll tell you what happened here, because this is my field. My Lord, your Lordship can either be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. Now, then there was a period and a capital B in because. That because is very important. But because it had seemed to be the end of the sentence, he knocked out the because. Couldn't figure out how the because. So that's why we don't see because. You only see one who is on the path of material progress. So why because? Because if you're not materially exhausted, you're intoxicated with these things, you cannot address Krishna with sincere feeling. That's the whole meaning of the purport.
What is the difference between approach and address in this context? Isn't it similar?
No. The reason why we said approach there, because the approach appeared in the first sentence. You can be approached, but only how to approach him? Well, in this age, the way to approach him is to chant his name. You understand? So the idea is that she's saying you can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. Because those who are not materially exhausted, namely they're intoxicated with all this wealth, they cannot address you with deep feeling, and therefore they can't take advantage of the easy means of approach. If we can't chant for whatever reason, no doubt, we have too much doubt, faith, too many offenses, we're helpless. We have to cultivate that pure chanting, and that means avoiding the offenses and avoiding entanglement in material things. That's part of it. Okay, and that's one of the offenses, to be to not have full faith in material in the holy name, and to maintain material attachments even after understanding some of these. All right, let's go on. So she continues with that theme, akinchana vittaya. The property of the materially impoverished. My obeisance are unto you who are the property of the materially impoverished. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self-satisfied, and therefore you are the most gentle and are the master of the monists. My Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse. So there's a few more I want to focus on. So, oh Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human, and now here's another change. This one was just somewhere along the way, someone typed something wrong, and it changed the whole meaning. which appear to be human and are so misleading. Right? That sounds okay. They're so misleading. But really what Prabhupada meant, and what he first had, and we don't know why it was ever changed, which appear to be human and so are misleading. You see the difference? It's a whole different, and therefore are misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial.
So will you be editing it back?
It's already there in the database if you look at it. Yeah, this is, yeah.
This is
Yeah, this is all going to be fixed. Not that database. The database on the computer. Yeah. Of course it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work, though you are inactive, that you take birth, though you are the vital force and unborn. You yourself descend among the animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. Now there's another little change. Ajanta does not mean veritable. It means very. This is very bewildering. That's all it's in. Not veritably. This is very, anyway, that's a small thing, but these things build up. My dear Krishna, now she's remembering, and this is so sweet. She's remembering Yashoda and how Krishna dealt with it, which she never could experience. Kunti always saw Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Yashoda was more advanced, and she saw Krishna as a little child. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. I just want to read this last part of this purport. It's so sweet. Okay. The Lord in his natural childish playful activities used to spoil the stock butter of Mother Yashoda by breaking the pots and distributing the contents to his friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of the Lord's munificence. Mother Yashoda saw this, and out of her pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in the ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yashoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. This picture of the Lord is adored by Kunti Devi because she's conscious of the Lord's supreme position. He is feared, often by fear personified, yet he is afraid of his mother, who wanted to punish him just in an ordinary manner. Kunti was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yashoda was not. Therefore, Yashoda's position was more exalted than Kunti's. Mother Yashoda got the Lord as her child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself. If Mother Yashoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish him. But she was made to forget the situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childishness before the affectionate Yashoda. The exchange of love between the mother and the son was performed in a natural way, and Kunti, remembering the scene, was bewildered, and she could do nothing but praise the transcendental filial love. Indirectly, Mother Yashoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all-powerful Lord as her beloved child. So this is a very beautiful passage. Prabhupada is explaining Vatsalya Ras, the intensity. Okay, we'll read on. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings. Others say he is born to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in this family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. In other words, he can appear anywhere, but because he appears in the Yadu dynasty, he's known as the Yadava. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared in order to diminish the trouble. And yet others say that you appeared in order to rejuvenate the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. So all of these reasons are valid. This last one is most prominent. That Krishna, out of his mercy, he takes birth and enacts his Vrindavan pastimes to revive the memory of it, so that those who are sincere will have something to remember and revive their remembrance of Krishna. And then there's this beautiful verse, Shinbandi Gayandi Gunanda Bhikshnasa Smadanti Nandandita Vehitang Jana Taheva Pashyant Adirena Tavakam Bhava Prabhaho Padamam Padambujam. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities, or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. And this is one of the many verses in the Srimad-Bhagavatam exalting the process of hearing and chanting. The Bhagavatam itself is a source of matter for hearing and chanting. And it exalts again and again this process, especially in this age. We don't have the opportunity of so much opulent deity worship. We don't live that long, But we can hear and chant, beginning with the Hare Krishna mantra. And these beautiful prayers and so on in the 10th canto, and then the expansion of the 10th canto, the writings of the Goswamis, we have abundant source matter which we can just hear and chant and share amongst each other. And as Kapila Dev says, it's the easiest process of yoga. And if you really follow it nicely, then you'll develop more and more faith and more attraction to Krishna, and ultimately pure bhakti. So she's exalting this now. You'll see the lotus feet of Krishna, which will stop the birth and death. Okay, we'll quickly finish it. Oh my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today, that we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all kings are at enmity with us? So now she's beginning her appeal, that Krishna will stay, even though it's impossible, he's got to go back to Dwarka. But she's revealing her deepest wish in her heart here. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you don't look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadavas, will end at once. O Gadadhar, Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your lotus feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance, the trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, the oceans full of wealth, and all this is due to you, just simply to your glancing over them. She's making quite a case here. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection from my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Now she's getting to the end here, and this is like, whoa, she's like, her family, we're all devotees, after all. She's saying, oh, please cut off my affection. And then the next verse will explain why. I want to direct everything to you. So she's anticipating, the end. In other words, now that the war is over, Krishna's going back, but Krishna's going to wind up his pastimes. So I wanted to simply, just love you. Yeah.
So in this verse, Queen Kunti is saying that because Krishna is glancing, it's all so nice in Vrindavan, right? So
yeah, well, not in Vrindavan, they're in Hastinapur.
Hastinapur. Okay, so that invalidates my question. So I was thinking in all this, places sounds like almost like Vrindavan, how it is. So is it like because Krishna's mercy is on certain place, the place has that opulence or like that way of nature, or because of the devotees?
Well, of course, it's the devotees, just like Yudhishthira is described, how when he reigned, because after the battle, he's now become king. So it's described, the rain came at just the right time, just the right amounts. All of the cows are so happy they moisten the ground with their milk, And here we are. It's almost Ram Nomi, so that's the whole fame, Ram Raja. Why did everyone want Ram Raja? Because the influence is so great that prosperity and happiness reigns. But the idea is that it's Krishna's influence, but it can be expressed through his great devotees. But she's making her appeal, to stay. And it's only here because you're glancing, you leaving us, and so she's desperately, praying for him to stay, and he does stay for some time. I think Yudhishthira asked him. But she's finishing up, and this is really, it's heartrending here. Hear her, she's saying, okay, I just want to direct my love to you. And that's the next prayer, which I put into a little poem. Tvayame nannivishaya Matir madhupate sakrit Ratamun vahataradha Gange baughamadanvati. O Madhu's Lord, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. So every one of us can offer that prayer to Radha Natabar, right? Natabar, or whoever, whichever you need. O Lord of Madhava, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. So I don't think we can have time to read this whole prayer, but I'll read the first paragraph. Perfection in pure devotional service is attained when all attention is diverted toward the transcendental loving service of the Lord. To cut off the tie of all other affections does not mean complete negation of the finer elements, like affection for someone else. This is not possible. A living being, whoever he may be, must have this feeling of affection for others because this is a symptom of life. The symptoms of life, such as desire, anger, hankerings, feelings of attraction, etc., cannot be annihilated. Only the objective has to be changed. Desire cannot be negated, but in devotional service, the desire is changed only for the service of the Lord, in place of desire for sense gratification. The so-called affection for family, society, country, etc. consists of different phases of sense gratification. When this desire is changed for the satisfaction of the Lord, it is called devotional service. So we can see that the family life, that, Srila Prabhupada encouraged his householders, and we had perfect examples in Lord Chaitanya's disciple, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, that family life can have meaning and can be fully Krishna conscious when Krishna's in the center, and you're truly meeting the most important needs of those who you're dependent on by helping them to be Krishna conscious. Just like we heard, I'm sorry, the boy's name again? Ujjvala. We were at the program, was it Saturday?
Saturday.
Yeah, Maha-Saturday. And there he sang the whole Goswami Ashtaka. Really remarkable, So this is that obviously, I don't think he spontaneously learned that. He probably, now it's time to learn. But I think that the taste is there and it'll grow, So this is meeting the injunction of Rishabdev, right? Those who study Rishabdev. Guru nasat sat, swajano nasat sat, pina nasat sat, swajani nasat. One should not become a guru, a mother, a father, a husband, or a deva, even a demigod, without being able to deliver one's dependence from the birth and death. Now, of course, every living entity is free. Ultimately, they have their own will. But the point is not that you try your best, you sincerely, to give Krishna consciousness to your dependents, whoever you have influence over, and then you're doing your duty. Bhaktivedanta Thakur, or you say Advaita Charya. Here's an incarnation, but not all of his sons became devotees. He had several sons who were rebellious, but there was one who was a very sincere devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So the point is that these natural ties are there, and when they're dovetailed in Krishna consciousness, that's the perfection of those individual ties, and that's so what she's talking about here. But this is a very serious prayer, and we can pray like that. Let my love be diverted, and that's almost the last one. So we'll just read the last one, and then if there's some comments. This is beautiful. This is like a summary of Krishna's activities. Shri Krishna Krishna Saka Vrishna Bhavanendru Rajanya Vangsha Dahanana Pavarga Virya Govinda Godvida Surati Haravatara Yogeshwara Kila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Now before we read the translation, notice that she begins her prayers, Namaste, with Namaste, and she ends her prayers with Namaste. This is a Vandanam, bowing down, glorifying, and praying. This is what Vandanam is, three things. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief among the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distresses of the cows, the Brahmins, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. Hare Krishna. Any final discussion on these things? There's a lot of ground here that we covered. Yes, please.
So, it's also so much of poetry, and then it's so much artistic way of expressing. For example, when you're talking, based on somebody's response, and then we react based on whatever mind intelligence we just speak.
Uh-huh.
So even whatever the language. So when these slokas spoken, different sections have different meters, different chandasu.
Uh-huh.
So I mean it's so artistically spoken, and then after that people who study Sanskrit, they're like, there's a correlation. But my question is, having said that, now when they speak, they consciously know all those things and speak in such a way that it falls like that, or when they speak, it automatically falls like that.
Naturally, yeah.
I mean, the Bhagavatam, as is said, that that this Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of all of the tree of the desire tree of the Vedic literature. And it's become even sweeter by the touch of Shukadeva Goswami. His father taught it to him, but he's embellished it with his own skill and his own devotion and speaking. And the Bhagavatam is not a static thing. Just like the writings of the Goswamis, you'll find they're all rooted in Bhagavatam. They're all rooted, much of it in the 10th canto. If you read, now we have I don't know if you have this yet, but we have an ebook with Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam and the 10th, 11th, 12th canto completion. But throughout has been appended to Prabhupada's purports, Vishwanath Chakravarti's comments. This is Devi Swami's effort. He had some people put it in. And now for the 10th canto, not only Vishwanath Chakravarti, but also Sanatana Goswami and Jiva Goswami's comments are there. And there's one devotee who's a student of Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, who was actually publishing books of all the commentaries of the 10th canto. I saw the first volume. I think it was like 3 chapters. It was this big, thick volume. It's going to be like multi-volume. So there's, it's like ever expanding. Just like Srila Prabhupada with his commentary, his purports, he gave us insight into the inner meaning of the slokas, and often shared previous acharyas' comments. But at the same time, he made it relevant to our present day. It's like in the first canto, you read the first canto, and so much he's commenting on. What is this, these factories just destroying the finer, qualities of life in people? So the idea is that the original verses, as you say, they're works of art. They can be appreciated on their own. This is like, I was so fortunate when I first joined. I was there, the Sanskrit department was there, and then the Adi Leela came out, and I was already trying to memorize verses. Oh, these verses, right at the beginning of the Adi Leela, at the beginning. Anarpita chadim chadat karunayhavati nakalau, the verse about Lord Chaitanya. And they're concentrated. If you understand the meaning and you take the trouble to learn it, it becomes an object of meditation. It becomes another way in which you can remain Krishna conscious. And also sharing. There's a whole slideshow that's been prepared, reasons for memorizing. One of them is just sharing, this with other devotees. Everyone knows that, I said, yeah, would you like to hear a nice shloka, Prabhu? I'll tell you a story. I was standing in line, waiting to get prasadam in Vrindavan. This is the early 90s. And Mahavishnu Das Brahmachari, he hadn't even taken sannyas yet. He was elder, but he was on the line with me, waiting. And so, as I often did when I have a captive audience, no one's going anywhere, waiting for prasadam. So I said, well, would you like to hear a nice shloka? So he pulls out a pad, which never happened to me before. He says, yes, I want to hear the shloka. I forget which it was, something from Krishna Karnamrita or something. But the one that he told me was so wonderful. It was a philosophy, full of philosophy, strong philosophy. It's one I'd never heard before. He said it's from Padma Puran. And I memorized it and I put it into a little poem. Dehishti mangsurudi devi matam chajasra. Jaya sutari chasadama matam vimucha. Pushyanisham jagadidham chanabhangatishtam vairagya raga rasigo bhava bhakti nishtam. Don't love the body, just a bag of flesh and blood and bone. Give up your sense of ownership for all you think you own. At every moment, see that your world totters on destruction. Become detached and learn to love the Lord without obstruction. So this last line, I always say, well, I didn't really do justice to it. Vairagya raga rasiko bhava. Vairagya raga means become attached to detachment. Become, you know what I mean? Become, just like Raghunath Das, right? He always pushed the envelope of how much vairagya he could show, right? How much austerity. Because he was coming from a supremely wealthy, think like 10 millionaire or a billionaire family, you know. And he was the only heir, right? So what did he do? He ran like anything. He actually lied to his guru to get away, you know. I mean, he respected Yadanandana Acharya, he would say. But Yadanandana Acharya was saying something about some deity worship had to be done. He says, oh, I'll go do it. And he took that opportunity to escape, and then he ran off to Puri to join Lord Chaitanya. Right? So he showed, even though he's away, you know, he showed the extreme of renunciation. But here it says, become attached to renunciation, but that's not all. Rasiko Baba. Become a rasika, become attached. And the first three lines are just, you know, trying to wake us up from the progressive attachment and intoxication of Janmaisha Yashuddha Shribi. Right? Anyway, I like that verse. And then he would come to San Diego. Periodically, he was preaching, and then eventually took sannyas, took disciples, and he started that whole program in Dwarka. I don't know if you know, he built up Dwarka. It's a nice temple. I never visited it. But I remember one incident where he was there. This was when he was visiting San Diego. He had a servant with him. He was a sannyasi by this time. And he told me that servant was named Tarala Bilochana, which means the eyes moving back and forth, you know, like that, very quickly. He said, oh, Maharaj, that's the name, that's in the Krishna Karnamrita, that name. He said, oh, really? What's the verse? He said, oh, okay. Tadidamapannatam tamalanilam tadada vilochana tarka viramam mudada vaktatanda bimbam mukadada vena vilasi jivatam. So the Krishna Karnamrita, if you study it, there's a lot of verses of separation, longing to see Krishna, and then meeting. If you see in the Madhya Lila chapter 2, there's a lot of verses like that, and it's in that format. So this is the one where Krishna's come before him. Even though he's physically blind, you know, he's feeling that with the spiritual wisdom. So tadidamapannatam tamalanidam. This is my Lord, has come, is approaching me with a beautiful blackish color like a tamal tree. And tadada vilochana, tadakavirama. His eyes are moving back and forth. He's watching the cows and everything, you know. And they're as beautiful as stars, the irises. Tadala vilochana. Mudita mudita vaktra chanda bimbam. He's got this beautiful moon-like face, bimba, like an orb, which is extremely joyful. Mudita mudita vaktra chanda bimbam. Mukadata vene vilasi jivatame. He's holding the flute to his mouth. He's my very life and soul. You know, that one verse is so rich, you know, and you could share it. What's the cost? You know, if you put your mind to it, you can memorize it in 5 minutes, and then you have it. You can put it in your pocket. You know, this is we should be greedy for that. Greed is good. Isn't that what Ramananda Roy says? He says, Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yadikatopi labhyate tattalaulim abhimulli mekalam janmako dishukadayana labhyate. Ring a bell? So he's saying, Prabhupada said, Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati. This is the origin of the phrase Krishna consciousness. This is where it comes from. He took that one line. So Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati means the mind absorbed in Krishna Bhakti Ras. You know, this is so valuable. If you can buy it somewhere, you should do so. You can purchase it if you can find it. Well, what's the price? You have to have the price. Is your greed. You have to be greedy. Millions and millions of bursts of pious activity won't cut it. You won't get the Krishna consciousness, and you won't get the greed. No, the only way to get it is to hang out with the greedy. In other words, to be associated with those who already have it. And one more verse, and then I think we should adjourn or whatever. And this is the prayer to become a miser. Prayer to become a miser. And it was said, don't be a miser, Prabhu. don't be creeping on. But this is a prayer to become a miser. Pajavali, Vichayani, Vicharayani, Vichinjani, Punakpanaha, Kripanasam Dhananiva, Tvannamani Bhavantuna. So I put it in a poem. Now, if everyone know what avaricious means, it simply means greedy. Avarice is greed, avarice is greedy. Compelled to constantly collect and count his precious hoard, the miser contemplates his wealth with avaricious aims. Please bless me to become a miser who's compelled, O Lord, to constantly collect and count and contemplate your names. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, all right. Now let us get ready for the kirtan. Yeah.
Question.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
How serious it is with the fear of material existence that the wealth, health,
Janmeshwaya Shuddha Shibir?
Yeah, because as parents we always want our children to have lots of fever, but of course to be Krishna conscious. And also others who don't have good education and wealth, and doesn't mean that they
No. If you're poor and ugly and foolish, that doesn't mean you're going to be Krishna conscious. The idea is that you can't. The whole problem is the Edamanamaduk, is the increasing intoxication with it. I mean, Ambarish Das was super wealthy, and he's still very wealthy, but he became such a dear devotee of Srila Prabhupada by engaging that wealth. I learned something I never knew before about Ambarish. You probably didn't know it either, because it's not that well known. Everyone knows he's the grandson of the original Henry Ford, right? But did you know that Henry Ford himself believed in reincarnation, and he had all kinds of books on things like that? And he always and he was saying, I built up this big business, but somehow I don't know how I did it. I just knew how to do the right thing, and everything must be from a previous birth and this and that. So he had all these books in his library, and the little Andy, or whatever his name was before he became Ambarish, he would see those books, and so he got involved in being curious about transcendental subject matters. And when he's hanging out in Hawaii, and he heard about the guru who was there, Srila Prabhupada, and he became interested and went to visit. Interesting. So here he is, he's got all this wealth and everything. But he knew the danger of not engaging in it, and he was attracted to Prabhupada, and he was devoted, and so he's done so much good for it. Now that can also be, you can do that in ordinary family life also. Is that you have to be careful, because the tendency is, to get involved in these things and to let your guard down. And therefore, you have to set the tone, and your wife, I think she sets the tone probably for you. So, know what's really important in life. Know that the child learning the Goshamashtika is much more important than letting him play video games or something. Or maybe it's so pure that he doesn't even know about video games. I don't know. Probably, never. Then you're lucky. You're very fortunate. Yeah. So that's real devotion. Then you're showing it, and he'll thank you for that. Because the Krishna conscious experience and devotion is the most valuable thing in the universe. So forget about this Aishwarya, the fool's goal of material wealth. It's just a Maya's trick to divert our attention from Krishna. But you need some of that in order to live in this world. So whatever is needed, then that's not Maya. That's devotion. Srila Prabhupada's father had a business, but at the same time, when his mother was thinking, yes, let's send him to England to become a barrister. He's so smart. And his father said, no. I don't want him to do that. He might have been sent off. I want him to learn how to play the mridanga. And his mother said, who needs to learn to play the mridanga? The Prabhupada, when the movement started, and it came time, we'll end with this, the miracle of that first record, which eventually ended up with George Harrison off the coast of Greece, listening to it constantly with John Lennon or something, becoming attracted to Krishna. So when Prabhupada, who's going to play the Mridanga? Prabhupada. And the fact that the Mridanga came was another miracle. There were so many miracles in that 22nd. The night before they were due to have the record, all I had was this bongo drum, This fellow shows up with a Mridanga. I know where he bought it, because around the corner, I lived on 9th Street, and right near the Lower East Side, right near Tompkins Square Park, in 1968. And much of Paradox Restaurant was still there. And next to the Paradox Restaurant, maybe one or two storefronts, was, of all things, an Indian musical instrument store from India. You'd see tablas in there and tambours and everything. And I bet that's where he got this Mridanga. Anyway, he walks in. He doesn't know how to play it. He's just carrying it. And they said, "Oh, beautiful," And Prabhupada said, "Oh, bring it up here." And Prabhupada suddenly started playing with the great expertise he learned from childhood. You can imagine. The devotees were dumbfounded. Oh, Prabhupada, he can do anything, So then, of course, but they didn't. It wasn't their Mridanga. So they asked the kid, "Tomorrow, we're making this record. Can you come back and bring it again?" "Oh, sure, I'll do that." They said, "Oh, yeah, the chances are pretty low. You'll never do it." But he came back. He brought the Mridanga, and that's what you hear on that record for eternity. That Prabhupada's chanting the riffs. So that that was Gaur Mohan Day. He had his business, and they were not poverty-stricken. There was a temple across the street, but he saw everything in perspective, and he kept Prabhupada. He prayed that he'd be a servant of Radharani, and Prabhupada in one purpose says, "And now it's come true." So we have the models, and it all depends on the parents, and you have these beautiful two boys. And they're going to be leaders of the movement one day. So you have a big responsibility. So they're going to save millions.
One question.
Go ahead.
You have this Sanskrit and you do the rhyme in English.
Yeah.
Is there any audio for that?
I can give you the audio. I have audio. It's not, it's okay, but it's not ideal, but it's serviceable.
Yeah.
And I can give you the text. So you have the text and the audio.
Yes.
And gradually, anyone can have. I give it out now. I don't sell anything.
Thank you.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. In fact, if anyone has an iPhone, I can do a airdrop of the text anyway. Do you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
You have an iPhone? Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, of course you can have it, but as far as them getting it. But I can send it to you. Oh, you can give it to her? Yeah. All right. Anyway, we'll do this tonight. Let's do the arati first, and then when the prasadam is, we'll do it. Okay. Now my legs are completely locked.